5 keys for Indiana to beat Purdue tomorrow night. Coming up.
Watford 3 on the way.
So the Indiana Hoosiers have their biggest game right in front of them tomorrow night, playing against the Purdue Boilermakers, and we have had good success against them in the past. So the last 4 games, we have won 3 of the last 4, and Mike Woodson seems to put in a strategy more for this game and make this game matter more than any other game of the season. Call it what you will. Probably because he's an ex-IU player. He knows how big the Purdue game is. And also, when he came in, and we had Archie Miller as our coach before, we had lost to Purdue so many times. So we've had some recent success. That being said, we don't have Jalen Hood-Schifino. I know at Purdue, he scored 35 points last year. If you remember, he really was a key to the Hoosiers winning that game at Mackey Arena. He was absolutely fantastic. They beat them at home as well, and I was just rewatching the game. There are some really critical things that Mike Woodson does to Zach Edey, and that brings me to my first key to the game. Move Edey away from the basket. He was able last year to really use Trace Jackson Davis and some other players. If you can get Zach Edey at his size, he has not very good lateral quickness or just getting back to the basket. If you just get him to take one big step, one step out towards the perimeter, very much like back behind him, opens up.
Created the opportunity as he does many times. You have somebody so efficient down in the lane, it opens it up for many people.
And another
opens up. The final play of that game was Hood-Schifino driving with him one-on-one in the lane, and Hood-Schifino was able to get that shot up. My point is, Edey he is huge, but he is not like some really great dynamic defender. He puts his arms up, but he doesn't really jump very high. He's not like a super physical player. We can take it to this guy, and that is how Indiana is going to have to win this game. You're going to have to be physical with him, and you're going to have to Ware can definitely lure him, and Renew as well. Renew, I think, with his quickness around the basket, and he played against Edey last year. Many of the players that played against him last year, having played against Edey once, hopefully the players from last year, Renew can do what Trace Jackson Davis did and learn to lure Edey away from the basket. It is huge. It just opens up back cutting lanes. It opens up the weak side. When this big body moves away from the basket, it can open up a lot of things. Key number 2 to this game. All right, the second key to this game is going to be the defense of the guards. I'm just hoping that Gabe Cupp starts this game. I hope Xavier Johnson takes a backseat. This guy still has to figure out his attitude problem. That's another one of the keys. But if Cupp starts playing tough defense against Smith and Lawyer on the outside, these guys have got a little bit more experience now. They're not freshmen anymore. So Cupps will definitely, and Galloway, to start the game playing really tough-nosed defense in this game against those guards. They're not the same type of guards we played against Auburn. These guards for Purdue can be disrupted, and we've done it before, and that's all we got to do to really employ this strategy against them. Make them uncomfortable. Lawyer and I'm crossing my fingers here, has struggled shooting the 3 ball against Indiana, and we've been able to make him uncomfortable. That is one of the huge keys to this game. Now, this brings me to, this was my last key to the game, but since we talked about Xavier Johnson already, we need him to play under control if he's going to play in this game. If he doesn't start and he comes in off the bench and does his normal, this guy drives me nuts. He starts rolling his eyes and doing all these flailing motions, and if he comes out and does that, I would just like to see Mike Woodson just bench this guy. But if he can play under control, but if you watch Kent Sterling this morning, he made a comparison to him being a bad drummer, which I thought was really hilarious, because when I was at the Minnesota game Friday, definitely when he brings the ball up the court and he dribbles the ball for 10 seconds of the shot clock, it is not helping anybody out there. And he does his whole thing where he waves people, you go wave here, you wave there, and there's 10 seconds left on the shot clock. I think Gabe Cupps does a better job of keeping the whole team involved and not making everything about himself. I think Cupps needs to shoot more, and he's going to have to hit some shots in this game. That's going to be huge for the Hoosiers if Xavier Johnson could score 10 in this game and be somewhat effective playing defense. But I would like to see Johnson come off the bench and see Cupps get the start. The crowd went nuts when Cupps started the other day, and you could just tell he came out with a different kind of energy once that IU crowd gets behind him. Go to my next point is Mbako getting hot early.
They'll attack the paint. Meanwhile, Minnesota will look for the three-point shot.
Even though guarding Khalil Ware.
It's an interesting defensive choice. Other three-pointer. And with that time for the new, and Indiana gets it right back. Count the bucket. What a start for the Hoosiers. Mbako with an
early. He has been able to be, at the beginning of a lot of these games, he's wide open. It takes a while for the defense to realize, is he going to be aggressive and drive in, or is he going to take the shot? His shot has really developed, and just like weeks ago, back in December, you kind of watched this guy and you thought, boys, he's just struggling to kind of figure it out on defense, thinking too much on defense. It just starts to affect all of your game, and this guy's really been able to figure it out. Now, he has a long way to go, but he is the one X factor. If he can come out in the game and make some threes and drive the ball and just really like be able to force the issue, this guy, seeing him in person, he is huge and he can just really be a force out there. And if he gets really aggressive, that can be really good for IU because he can be the type of dynamic wing player that teams really struggle to stop when he's driving the ball off of that wing spot. And if people got to come up on him close, if he makes some three-pointers, he just can be a very difficult guard for a lot of teams. Our presenting sponsor, Reynolds Wrap. Reynolds Wrap for 75 years, helping save you time in the kitchen. Reynolds Wrap, easy, open, box, aluminum foil will help save you time and get back to the big game this Sunday faster while watching Wild Card Weekend. Get back after halftime faster by using Reynolds Wrap. And I use this stuff for everything. Grill, sheet pans, line things with it. Makes the cleanup that much faster. Thank you to Reynolds Wrap for sponsoring this video. All right. And my fifth thing to happen in this game, Galloway's got to play a huge game. He played a big game against Kansas, and they lost that game really in the last 5 minutes. They kind of wore down as that game went on. And the Hoosiers really had that game right there the entire time, and we're taking it to a number one Kansas team. Now you got number one Purdue coming into Assembly Hall. Galloway, the fans really love this guy. When he gets going and he starts making some drives, passes, and get some fast break dunks, he can really get the crowd into the game more than
another turnover. Here comes Galloway on the push, and Mbako back to Galloway.
Into the game more than any other player, and he's a senior leader out there. If you're not starting Xavier Johnson, you really need this guy to step up and even make a couple of threes and have some nice drives. That's going to be huge for the Hoosiers to get after it in this one. So a lot to look forward to. I expect that this is going to be a really close game. Of the last 4 times Mike Woodson has played them, the one time that they did lose, they lost 67-69. So even the one game they did lose to Purdue, it was a 2-point game, and they held Purdue under 70 points. So the Hoosiers have had great success on defense, and Mike Woodson, it seems like he is going to get the team ready for this game. So as much as over this past, I have made a lot of videos where I've ranted about Xavier Johnson and I've ranted about Mike Woodson, and I've read, it's time to put all that aside and show up to the game and just be loud as hell. And that is how this Hoosier team is going to get over the hump. And Mike Woodson, he's had him ready to play in the big games. Now, we get more mad when they lose on the road to Nebraska or Rutgers. And, I make a lot of videos ranting about that stuff. But now is the time to just put all that aside. We need all hands on deck, including Xavier Johnson. But if he cannot stay under control, that's going to be huge for the Hoosiers in this one. But we had a great weekend of football. Let's talk a little bit about that because I enjoyed the hell out of the Cowboys getting just killed by the Green Bay Packers yesterday. And that was so much fun to watch. And we really, like Colts fans out there, I know I haven't made a Colts video in a week or so because Indiana basketball has just been taking up a lot of my time trying to, put together segments about Indiana basketball. But watching these games, you can really tell the Texans, they deserve to be in a lot more than the Colts did. They played a great game against the Browns. And C.J. Stroud, God, I wish the Colts would have moved up in the draft and got him. I know he wasn't available at number 4, but I just thought the Colts, because the Panthers moved up and got Bryce Young, I thought the Colts were going to move up and try to get C.J. Stroud. But congratulations to the Texans. They played a great game. Congratulations to the Lions. That was a fantastic game last night. And man, the Lions hung on at the end, and thank God they did, because they're probably, it was going to be crazy after that game if they lost. I'm sure it even was when they won. But I do want to say this. The game that was on Peacock, the coverage of that was absolutely awful. And this Indiana game tomorrow night is on Peacock as well. I already bought it on Black Friday Peacock, but tell me what you think about this. Peacock, it absolutely sucks to watch. You can't rewind the game. You can't rewatch it right away. It drives me nuts because I try to cover the game. I have YouTube TV, so I can fast forward and rewind and watch different plays, key plays. If I think it's something I want to talk about on this show, I can do that. And Peacock makes it so difficult. If the game is 2 hours, it takes them about an hour or so before they upload it onto their thing so you can rewatch it. And it's just a huge pain in the ass for me. And you probably think the same thing if you were trying to rewatch some of the games on there or anything. But maybe I don't like change, but maybe I just don't like these big companies like NBC paying $110 million to have the Chiefs-Dolphins game, and then the coverage of it was just absolutely awful. A lot of the replays were awful. The camera angles were awful. So shame on you, NBC, that you spent all that money and made a real crap product of that game. So tell me what you think about that in the comments down below. And Indiana playing on Peacock, that's a travesty. I mean, this game should just be on Fox or ABC, one of the main stations, CBS, something. Come on. This is the biggest game of the year right now for the Hoosiers. And the Hoosiers will be right there in second place in the Big Ten if they win this game. So this is a huge game for overall standings for the Hoosiers. But until next time, stay classy out there, Hoosier fans. Go Hoosiers tomorrow night. We got to beat Purdue.